So do you find yourself feeling resentful in your relationship, like your needs just aren't being met? Or maybe you're desperately wanting something in your relationship, but it isn't happening. Or maybe you've already wrecked, ruined, and destroyed a relationship because you had all these expectations that never seemed to be met. Well, these can be a sign of a covert contract. And it happens a lot. It's probably the most common thing in a relationship that happens that creates dysfunction. So I want to explain what it is and what you can do to absolutely stop doing this in your relationships and shift the way that you function so that you can find success. If you're new to this channel, I'm Keetra Thompson. I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relationship recovery coach where I help my clients really get to the heart of what's going on inside of them, what's driving their attachment style, what's driving their behavior patterns, what's underneath their triggers, and we reframe it on a subconscious level so they can actually create lasting change in their life, in their success, in their love life, all of it. So if you'd like to learn more, there is that link in the description below where you can visit my website, find out all of the info. And there's also a link where you can set up a completely complimentary consultation call, no charge to you, so that I can get a better understanding about what's going on with you and I can help you get some clarity. So if you'd like to set that up, that link is below as well. So first, let's define what is a covert contract. Well, it's giving something to someone in order to get what you want, but never explicitly stating what your wants and needs are, like a silent agreement. It's the rules that have been kept hidden in a relationship, the assumptions that are underneath it all, right? So it's like, let me give you what I think is a really good example. Let's say you've got a relationship where the husband is frustrated that he's not getting enough sex. Okay? And instead of having a calm, clear conversation about how he needs to connect on this level, what can he do to help facilitate that, understanding her needs or communicating, what he does is he draws a bath for her and he puts rose petals in it. And he lights candles all around it. And he puts rose petals all out of the bathroom into the bedroom and down the hall. And then he says, "Honey, look what I did for you. Go enjoy." But he's not doing it because she's had a hard week or she is tired or he wants to gift this to her. It looks like a gift, but it is not a gift. It is an expectation that she will have sex with him that night if he did this thing for her. It's a covert contract. It's giving to get without explicitly explaining what they want and need. It's the lack of communication and it's doing to get. So there's a hidden meaning, and then the resentment gets built up when she may not reciprocate in the way he expected because he thinks she knows what he wants and understands, but she probably doesn't. She probably thought it was an actual gift, and then if it wasn't a gift, she probably felt manipulated. So I want to give you a little more clarity on this and really get underneath it because there is more to this. So let me explain it in its most simple form. The most simple form of this would be saying I love you to someone because you really need to hear it back. You really need to get that assurance. So you're giving it to them in hopes that they're going to give it to you back. It's a bid for connection and attention, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it's not just freely being given without expectation. It's not communicating the actual need for connection. So let's just look for a minute at why we do this. Now, typically at the core of who we are, we may be terrified of rejection. Think about how much need and care a baby needs. These beliefs get created back then when we're little. Those babies need constant care and attention. And if they are separated from their caregiver, they could die. So all the alarm bells in their body go off and they start crying for attention, right? And so that fear of rejection from our caregiver can carry over into our adult life. And even if it's an irrational fear, even if it's, really doesn't make sense for the dynamic of the relationship we're in, it could still be there. We've also all been conditioned in certain ways. So we've learned that if you're a good girl or a good boy, that you won't lose the love and care and attention that you desire. And so a lot of people condition themselves into being what other people want them to be so they don't lose the affection of the people around them. So you might have also grown up having to guess what others' needs are, because self-awareness and communication just simply didn't happen in your home. You didn't have parents who were self-aware, who communicated clearly, and who were willing to be open and vulnerable about their own state of mind and what their expectations are. So you're afraid of being a burden, because if you didn't have parents who understood who was supposed to hold the weight in those situations and communicate clearly, now you feel like, ooh, if I rock the boat, I'm going to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden to them, because if I'm a burden, then I might get rejected. They might not want me, and I'm going to lose the love and connection that I want. So all these beliefs happen when we're really young, which help shape our attachment style as well. We might have a belief that our boundaries won't be respected, and so we don't want to risk it. We don't want to rock that boat. So let's talk about why this is so bad. Why this is so incredibly destructive in relationships. Well, it creates a passive-aggressive behavior pattern where you're not saying it out loud, but the resentment is growing, and now you might be kind of a jerk later about something else totally not related, because this passive aggressive thing kind of feeds on resentment. It causes a tremendous amount of resentment that builds up inside of you. It creates a childish, pouty behavior pattern where the other person might know you're kind of pouting and mad about something. They don't really know what, and at some point that kind of just keeps happening, and you're like, I don't know, they're just pouty about something else today, it just creates really a feeling that's not attractive between the two parties. The truth is, this will ruin a relationship. It absolutely will ruin a relationship. And at the same time, you're going to think that you're saving that relationship. You're going to think by accommodating the other person, by never holding your boundaries, that you're actually saving the relationship, but you're not. And I had a really good example lately of someone I knew that kept asking his wife to check with him before he made plans, or before she made plans with family. And I heard this through a third party, but still, this is a good example. And she would say, oh, yeah, I'll check with you. Yep, I'll do that from now on. And then she wouldn't. She'd continue to make plans with family members, grown children, whatever, and then tell him about it after the fact. And he just kept going along because the people she made plans with were important to him. And I get that. That makes sense. But at some point, the resentment that builds up from that kind of thing will absolutely destroy the relationship. If he speaks up and says, hey, you made plans again without talking to me, I'm not going, and actually held the boundary, and she threw a fit or got upset or whatever, she would immediately respect him more. And it would immediately change the dynamic of the relationship without him being a jerk, without him going off on her, just simply stating, we talked about this, I don't want to do this anymore, and I'm not going to keep this same pattern, so I'm not going. In the future, again, I'd like you to check with me before you make these plans. That's being kindly assertive, and it is terrifying to people who have spent their whole life being people pleasers. But I promise you, if you stay stuck in this covert contract, people pleasing mode, it will ruin your relationship. So let's talk about what's stopping you from doing this. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, all the subconscious programming that has been in you your whole life that is creating fear about things that there really shouldn't be this level of fear about them. And the big part about healing that is, of course, the subconscious work is important, but also we're not self-aware. If you are not self-aware, you are not checking in with yourself on a daily basis, understanding what your needs, wants, and desires are, meeting them in real time. You don't know what those feelings mean. It's like all your feelings are like the lights on the dashboard of a car. None of them are bad. They're giving information. But if you don't know how to interpret it, you're not going to take care of the car very well. If the oil light comes on and all you ever do is put gas in that car, you're going to burn up the engine. So it's important for you to know what your feelings and emotions are telling you, and important for you to know how to best act on them, which is what self-awareness is. And if you don't have that self-awareness, you are disconnected from yourself, even divorced from yourself. So I think you can understand that the fear of judgment is going to be driving the ship if you don't have self-awareness. So that's an important thing to understand. So let's look at what secure attachment would do. If you were a securely attached person functioning in a healthy way, what does that even look like? A securely attached person is tuned into themselves. Their yes is a yes, their no is a no. They're clear on their yeses and nos. Without fear, without guilt, without shame, without that fear of rejection, they have integrity to themselves and they have integrity in the relationship because they kindly communicate where they're at, what they're feeling, what they need, and they're curious about their partner's feelings and needs. So they have a lot of clarity and they communicate that clarity. Now, their communication needs and requests are regular. They're not just when something's built up and they've decided to explode on their partner. And they're not attached to the outcome. So if they make the request, they're not attached to whether or not the person does it or not. When you're attached to the outcome, there's a big letdown because there's a big expectation. They just know that their job is to communicate, that if the other person can't do it, it's not a rejection of them personally. It's just a simple thing that the other person can't do. So just like if someone asked you to volunteer and you said, no, I don't have the time in my schedule for that right now, or I've prioritized other things, you'd be able to say that to a church, to a job, to whatever other thing, even outside of your intimate relationship, without thinking that, oh my gosh, they're gonna hate me. I'm never gonna get asked again. Like, a secure person knows that this is their reality and they're okay with being honest with that. And the other person's interpretation is totally on them. And the only expectation really is that the other person will accept their clear communication and not get mad at them about it. But if they do, they know it's not about them. So this is what secure attachment looks like. Secure attachment in an intimate relationship moves toward the other person with honesty, openness, curiosity, and connection. So how do we reprogram the subconscious mind so that you can change this dynamic? Because reprogramming the subconscious mind is actually the key. It allows you to deal with the fear that's triggering the behaviors, helps you tune into yourself so you know what your feelings mean and you know what actionable steps to take. And it really creates confidence in you, but mostly because it's helping you connect to your self-worth. So I want to take just a moment to explain why the hypnotherapy process is so incredibly profound. Other things can be really helpful. We have all these other tools that can help us implement these changes. And those are the tools that are often taught in other therapeutic settings, is the communication skills and how to say it and what to say. And I teach all of those things too, because I believe in a holistic process that gives people the support on every level. But here's the key. If you haven't reframed those triggers subconsciously, then all of that other work is just going to feel so difficult. You're going to be fighting against old programming in a really strong way instead of going to the root of what is going on, where you created that belief system that's driving your unwanted behavior, reframing it subconsciously so that you can move forward with a new operating system, and now you can implement those things in a new way. Now you're not swimming upstream to try to implement those things. Now there's more ease and flow because you are connected to your self-worth, which allows you to not be so rattled by other people's assumptions or criticisms or behaviors. So let's do a little self-reflection about all of this covert contract stuff and how it plays out. One way to be self-reflective and see how this is playing out in your life, you may already have awareness that you do this or that your partner does this, but it's really good to stop and take a little bit of just stock of where you're really at. So ask yourself, what part do I resent about my partner? And this can be really telling because this gives you this is kind of shadow work. So if you really resent something about your partner, I really used to resent that my ex would always go play. And we had several kids at home. I had a lot on my plate as a mom of my own kids and a stepmom. And this person would just leave the plate on the table after I cooked, run out in the yard and go play, not help with anything in the house, would be gone multiple days of the week skiing or quadding or whatever, and kind of dump everything on me and not do anything to like help prepare for his absence, even with his own children. And the fact that this thing just kept going like this, I was very resentful. And I had to be honest with myself. Yes, he should have been holding his weight. And I was resentful that he was letting himself play. And I wasn't. I wasn't allowing myself to play. Now, would it have been great for me to just drop everything that kids needed and go play? No. However, I should have prioritized my needs higher, and I should have left more things undone. So when we identify where we resent our partner, it's probably an area in our own life where we are not giving ourselves permission to do what they're doing. The other thing you can ask is, what's the worst that could happen if I freely express my needs? What is the absolute worst that could happen? You have a conversation about it? The other person's so volatile that they're going to explode or blow up on you? If that's the case, something has to change anyway because you're in a toxic relationship. If that other person's going to explode and blow up on you, you got bigger problems. Ask yourself, what will I feel like if I keep betraying myself in this way? Because you are betraying yourself. Every single time you betray yourself in order to be what someone else wants you to be, or to say what they want you to say, or to do what they want you to do without expressing yourself freely, not in a jerky way, but expressing your desire, you're betraying yourself. Now, sometimes you're going to express your desire. Let's say you go out to dinner and you go, oh, I want to go here. And everyone else wants to go somewhere else, and you're really okay with it. And you go, okay. But at least you expressed yourself. The success is in you kindly expressing yourself. It's not in whether or not you get your way. So that goes back to the letting go of expectations of what the other person's going to do or how their reaction's going to be. What help do I need to heal? Ask yourself that. What is it I actually need so that I can heal and I can function in an amazing way? So I can function so well that I attract the kind of partner that's on my level, that I keep my marriage, if I'm in one, and create a healthy dynamic, that I stop betraying myself, and then take some action steps to actually get the help that you need. Because we don't heal alone, we don't heal in isolation. So the action steps that you can take right now is start expressing your needs and your desires to someone who is a safe friend. You can have this conversation with a family member, a relative, a friend. Hey, I want to practice this. I want to start sharing what I need and how I feel every day. And I want to practice doing that with someone else. If you can't immediately do it with your partner or spouse, or you don't have a partner or spouse. And the next step would be to get that help. Take the step to get the help that you need, because you only have one life. The clock is ticking. And if you want to make the best choices for yourself and create a life and the love that you want, then you're going to have to choose you, and you're going to have to be strategic about getting the help that you need to get you to the next place in life. Nobody does things alone. Even the most successful people in the world have coaches, have mentors, have all kinds of help that they hire because they know they can't do everything perfectly and they need the help of other people. Again, if this has resonated with you, I would really appreciate it if you would click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. You can check out that link for that totally free complimentary consultation in the description below. And until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.